commanded us to be an Or L'Goyim, to be a light to the nations. And we truly are. We really are a light to the world. And when we understand that and internalize that, the pride that we have in being Jewish comes out in every single thing that we do. And this pride in our Judaism enables us to stand and move forward in a level that nobody else can come close to. Often when I sit with survivors of the Holocaust, I see quite what they've done. Recently I was in Pennsylvania, and I asked if there were any survivors nearby. And they told me there was one survivor who lives up on the Poconos Mountains, big mountain range. And they said, you can go and visit him, but it will take you a while. So I rented a car and all the way up this mountain, and I get to this guy's house, an elderly man. And I enter his house, and he's sitting there, and he's not in great shape. As a survivor from Ukraine, where he had to survive the German Nazis and the Ukrainians as well, who were just as evil. And we're sitting there in his home, and surrounding everywhere are electrical appliances, all these different electrical things that he's made. And I'm looking, and he says, do you want anything? And I said, well, I don't need anything, I'm good, thank you. I said, what is all of this? And he said, look. And I had a little look, and I looked closer, and every single one had the words Cuisinart. The kitchen appliances that you remember, kitchen, Cuisinart. And he said, I wrote the patents for each of these products. Every single one of us probably has one of his products in our homes. And I thought, wow. And then he sat there and told me about his whole family that was killed. And I was thinking, wow. Imagine if his brothers and sisters would have survived what they would have created. And within that, you also understand the tragedy, but also the power of us as a people. That through the darkest and most difficult days, we do move forward, and we continue, and we build. And you saw this with the Yehud family this morning. Israelis are different. Israelis are very resilient people, a very tough people. My daughters were born in Israel, they live in Israel, they're almost 12 and 16, and they're very tough. Very, very tough little girls. And when I look at them and I speak to them, I understand where their strength comes from. And just 2 weeks ago, on the day the terrible day that Shiri and the Bibas boys were buried, my eldest daughter Michali called me. And we were speaking that evening, and she said, Abba, Dad, she said, how will Yarden go on? How? How is Yarden going to live his life after this? And I said to her, Michali, I said, what's your name? She said, my name? Michal Shendel. I said, correct. I said, and who was Shendel? She said, Shendel was my great-grandmother. I said, correct. And who was Shendel married to? Shendel's husband, your great-grandfather, was married in Hungary before the Shoah. He was married with a wife and 2 little children. And his wife and 2 kids, along with him, were sent to Auschwitz-Birkenau. And the Germans, Yamach Shemam, murdered his wife and 2 children. And he came out, and he built, and he continued, and he remarried, and he had 6 children. One of them was your grandmother. Each of the children had many children themselves, and you were one of many, many Shendels. This is the Jewish people. We continue to build always, and we're strong. And before I heard about people talking about our revenge, Edward Mossberg was a Holocaust survivor I was incredibly close with. His number I wear on my wrist every single day. And I remember once someone saying to Edward, look at the revenge, how you have a huge family. And he said, no, this isn't revenge. This is my right as a human being. My right is to have a family. My right is to live my life and to build my life. There's no revenge. The same way that there's no forgiveness. We can never forgive. Only the dead can forgive. The strength that we find through our past as a people is the strength that will enable us to move forward.